Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to share with all of you today. Today's date is August 5th, 2025, and it's Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful day today. We've got a lot of news to cover with this war update, so let's go ahead and get right into this. We're going to start out with a huge story out of Russia's Rostov Oblast, as overnight Ukrainian drones were targeting another railway station. We've been seeing a lot of this over the last week or so. So we're going to start out with this report here on your screen. Ukraine attacks a railway station in Russia's Rostov Oblast. Power station hit. Ukrainian drones targeted the Tatsinskaya railway station in Russia's Rostov Oblast on August 5th. The station is used as a logistics hub for nearby oil infrastructure and is used to transport grain. Okay, we know for over a week now Ukraine's been doing this, and one of the major reasons why also is to prevent Russian military logistics from reaching inside of their country. As we know, there's two major railways that cut through the Rostov Oblast that the Russians use to try to transfer military equipment. Ukraine's been trying to slam these transportation stations and also hitting electrical substations as well to knock out the power to these railways. So I'll talk about that as well today. We do have a report of an electrical substation that was attacked and a fire broke out on the site located near the settlement of Verkhneta Lavka. If I'm saying that correctly, it's very close to the city of Milarovo in the Rostov region, which Milarovo has a major military airfield over there as well that Ukraine has attacked numerous times in the past. We also have reports today that Russia launched a massive strike on the city of Lozova in the Kharkiv region. A train station and other transport infrastructure were damaged. We do have reports of deaths and injuries in that area, unfortunately, as well. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. I have numerous miscellaneous updates I want to share with you guys as well coming out from this war. Let's go ahead and get right into this, guys. Let's jump on over here to X with Drone Bomber. It says approximate flight routes of our UAVs. Red arrow indicates the directions of loitering munitions and strike UAVs. All information regarding the routes is taken from Russian sources. So here's a map coming out from Drone Bomber showing the trajectory of all the different drones going into Russia overnight. It's crazy. Pretty much every day now, Ukraine is just launching massive drone attacks onto Russia. So you can see a lot of these drones heading down here to the Rostov Oblast. We're going to be talking about the central side of the Rostov Oblast for the most part, where we had this Tatsinskaya railway station that came under attack. You can see a lot of drones heading up to the Voronezh Oblast, which I believe there's some railway infrastructure up here as well, but I don't have any reports of what was damaged. Lots of drones heading on up over here too, like Tambov, Saratov regions as well. Then we have a lot of other drones heading up towards Moscow. And unfortunately, up here in the north, still no updates as to what was being attacked over there, but nonetheless, we did have drones entering up into the northern territories of Russia. So let's move on to a video now from War Translated. Last night, drones targeted the Tatsinskaya railway station in Russia's Rostov region. The station is a key railway hub used for transporting military equipment, fuel, and personnel to the southern front, particularly toward the occupied areas of Donbass and the Zaporizhzhia region. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported allegedly shooting down dozens of UAVs, including over the Bryansk, Rostov, Kaluga, and Smolensk regions. So you can see a lot of different regions being targeted overnight. And we do have a 20-second clip, and unfortunately, it's the only one I do have today. But it's like a combination of a lot of small clips that have been coming out on X today. So go ahead and take a look at this. You can already see a massive fire located right next to this train station. Take a look at this. Okay, we'll go ahead and pause this for a second, and I want to show you guys this because from what I understand, what Ukraine was mainly going after was fuel tanks, and I believe that could be some right here. I'm not really sure. It's pretty dark here to be able to see, but we can see massive fires, a large fire right here that broke out, and another one right over there to the left. We'll let it play here for a second. So we're still kind of waiting to see what the results of were these for the strikes on this train station. But from what we're understanding, a lot of these strikes may have missed their targets if they were trying to go after an actual like fuel train, which we have been seeing that a lot recently. Because today we haven't had any confirmation of any fuel trains being hit, but otherwise, massive fires here breaking out at this train station, and it could have halted some military trains trying to travel through here as well. So now we'll move on to LX Summer 1. According to the governor, Sliuzar, a canopy in the yard caught fire, and geolocation from Astra indicates otherwise. The fire was near the railway station, close to the elevator and the water tower. In the village of Verkhneta in the Milarovsky district, a substation caught fire. The fire, covering an area of 500 square meters, was extinguished. Traditionally, no casualties reported. So here's a picture coming out showing a potential strike near one of the railways over here, or the Tatsinskaya Railway, excuse me. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't know exactly what was hit over here just yet. Still waiting for more information, but there's a picture of a fire, somebody walking by it there. And then we've got another photo of an overlook of the Tatsinskaya railway station that came under attack just yesterday evening. Okay, so we're going to jump on over to a map now, and let me show you guys where some of these strikes were taking place at. So we've got Ukraine here, and we've got Russian territory. We're going to go into the Rostov region, which is just over the border from Ukraine's Donetsk and Luhansk regions. So kind of the center side of the Rostov Oblast. We'll zoom in to the settlement of Tatsinskaya. Okay, so here we go. This is the railway station that was being attacked overnight, and definitely one of the smaller ones that we have seen. And we've got an elevator over here, so I wonder if this is where one of those fires were that broke out. Ukraine could have been targeting this area, or maybe a drone actually got shot down and crashed. Could have been drone debris. But there's the railway station that came under attack last night. Definitely not a very large one like some of the other ones I've been showing you guys. But this is where one of them are located. And actually, this is a major railway that transport Russian military equipment all along this highway over here to the Rostov, or the Volgograd region, excuse me. Cuts through like Morozovsk, kind of follows this highway all the way over to Volgograd. And the Russians use this railway system to transport equipment into Ukrainian territory, mainly down here to like Mariupol. But then up here to the north, there's another railway system that runs right here along this highway. This is where Tatsinskaya is at. So over here, close to Milarovo, we'll zoom in. We have the settlement of Verkhneta. And when we zoom into that, I was able to actually find it. Here it is right here. We have a power substation that was apparently hit, and there was a fire recorded. You can see it's located right next to the train tracks here. This is another train railway system that Ukraine goes after, and they've attacked numerous settlements along these train tracks that run pretty much down this highway as well. And they pretty much head down to Rostov-on-Don down here. So the Verkhneta substation would have been up here near Milarovo. If you see, it runs all the way down to Rostov, and then these trains connect down here, and then they head on over to Mariupol, which is going to be inside of Ukrainian territory over here in the Donetsk region. So you can kind of see why Ukraine is targeting a lot of these substations and railway stations recently, really trying to cut off Russian logistics flowing into their territory. So there you go, guys. Kind of where it's located at in the Rostov region there. Let's go ahead and jump on over to another report now from NOAA Reports. Baba Yaga drones dropped a mine, destroying a large Russian generator and a fuel and lubricants depot belonging to the 423rd Motorized Rifle Regiment of the Lyman Axis. Okay, so we had the Ukrainians carrying out a strike using a Baba Yaga drone, and you guys may have seen me show some pictures here of those things in the past. They're pretty much large FPV drones that sometimes can carry mines or giant grenades or bombs, and they'll drop them onto sometimes air defense systems and destroy them. So according to this report today, a Baba Yaga drone destroyed a large Russian generator and a fuel and lubricants depot that was belonging to the 423rd Motorized Rifle Regiment on the Lyman Axis. So I believe this is in the Luhansk region, if not Donetsk region, but definitely on the eastern side of Ukraine. That was a new picture just starting to come out today. Now for more translated, the aftermath of the massive strike on Lozova in the Kharkiv region. One person is confirmed dead and 10 injured. Train station and other transport infrastructure were damaged. Zaporizhia, Odessa, and Sumy regions were also hit by ballistic missiles, and nearly 50 drones. In the village of Belenki, Zaporizhia district, occupiers targeted civilians with FPV drones, injuring 2 people. So very sad to see that. We keep seeing the Russians targeting innocent civilians in southern Ukraine with FPV drones. This is down in Zaporizhia. But this picture today is coming out from this massive strike from most likely Russian drones in the city of Lozova in the Kharkiv region. This is up in northeastern Ukraine. We have damage to a train station as well. The Russia's kind of doing the same exact thing. You see lots of damage here to the inside of this train station. This looks like even we're in an area where little kids get to play and do some recreation time. Here's more damage. Also looks like critical electrical equipment probably right here, or a substation that was attacked. And then we've got one more photo also showing lots of damage to this train station today. So very horrible. Yeah, we do have reports today. At least one person has been killed. I think that number has risen up to 2 today, and 10 people injured so far in this strike. So very sad to report, but the Russians did attack a train station inside of Ukraine as well. Now for Max 25, Zelensky says productive conversation with President Trump. The key is, of course, ending the war. Today we coordinated our positions. President Trump is fully informed about the Russian strikes on Kyiv on our other cities. We talked about sanctions against Russia. We discussed joint European decisions that can help our defense. We also talked about our bilateral defense interaction with America. The draft agreement on drones has already been prepared by the Ukrainian side. Okay, so it looks like very soon the U.S. are going to be purchasing some drones from Ukraine. We've been hearing about that over the last week. Looks like that deal will be signed here very soon. But aside from that, Zelensky and Trump did hold a phone call today, and probably one of the most important phone calls of the war, as by the end of this week, we're expecting the United States to hit Russia and its trading partners with some tariffs and or sanctions that could possibly force an end to this war. We're going to have to see how things play out here by the end of the week, but it's getting very close to crunch time. A lot can really happen. And, Russia coming out with a lot of threats. Yesterday, I showed you guys numerous videos of nuclear threats and deploying ballistic missiles and whatnot, closing down the Kapustin Yar launch site so that they could possibly launch a Oreshnik missile onto Ukraine again. So lots could happen this week, but yeah, it looks like Zelensky and Trump did hold a phone call today. Now from Ukrainian Review, NATO is beginning to coordinate regular and large-scale arms deliveries to Ukraine, according to AP. 2 deliveries are expected in August. Equipment that will be provided is determined by Ukraine's priority needs on the battlefield, after which NATO allies find weapons and ammunition and send them. Okay, so it looks like NATO's getting their act together, and they're really starting to help out Ukraine. We're hearing a lot of reports that that NATO's really trying to fast track a lot of equipment into Ukraine right now and try to get it there as quickly as possible. And we could be really seeing a lot of heavy weaponry flowing into Ukraine right now, and a lot of it does come out of Germany. And Germany is classifying a lot of their military equipment over to Ukraine. They're not publicly announcing what they're sending. So right now, Ukraine could really be receiving a lot, but it looks like NATO is really trying to set up as many schemes as they can to quickly and accurately send a lot of equipment to Ukraine. That was according to Associated Press today. So now from Visioner, breaking. According to Ukrainian monitoring sources, Russia is planning to launch over 500 Shahed drones towards Ukraine this evening and overnight, with several dozen reported to be of the jet-powered type. At this moment, preparations for launches are underway from all possible directions. Moreover, approximately 2,000 combat-type UAVs are currently positioned to all known Russian launch sites, from which they could potentially be used against Ukraine in the near future. Okay, so lots of talk about this today, that the Russians are preparing for a major attack on Ukraine tonight. And it would not surprise me, because for days now, we've been seeing very little numbers of drones going into Ukraine. I think there was less than 100 that went into Ukraine again. That's typically what we see. And then once we start to get closer to the weekend, that's usually when the Russians launch a massive attack on Ukraine. But I think it's very possible that the attack could come tonight, as I think tomorrow or Thursday we could be seeing Keith Kellogg, the special envoy from the Trump administration, arriving in Ukraine into Kyiv, the capital, and that's usually when the Russians don't attack the capital, so don't be surprised if they do that tonight before Keith Kellogg arrives. Now from Noel Reports, Ukraine already has interceptors for jet-powered Shahed drones, according to the Center for Countering Disinformation. The head of the center noted that despite rumors of all is lost, there are ongoing developments and updates that will be shared at the right time. Okay, so this is a big update. Also, Ukraine's Center for Countering Disinformation, probably Andriy Kovalenko, reported this, that Ukraine has jet interceptors that can be used for jet-powered Shahed drones. And we've been hearing that the Russians are starting to switch over to that, and that could allegedly be dozens of these jet-powered drones that could be attacking Ukraine tonight, and Russia has been stepping up the use of these and are expected to eventually switch over to them 100% in the future. So Ukraine's trying to counter that as much as possible, but allegedly they do have interceptors for jet-powered Shahed drones. Here's a picture coming out today. Also, this one's from Slava. Ukraine unveils jet interceptor for Shahed drones. The Mongoose, a drone. Defender Media reports it is a reusable UAV with a jet engine and an automatic guidance system. It will fly up to attack drones, fire a shotgun round at the engine or propeller of the enemy UAV, and then continue its mission or return. So here's allegedly a new photo of this new type of interceptor that I believe is jet powered also, and can be used to take down incoming Shahed drones, whether it be regular propeller driven or jet powered. Allegedly, that they can use, and it can use like a shotgun shell to shoot them down, to target the engine and try to bring down an incoming drone. So that is good to hear, as Ukraine looks like they are preparing for more attacks from jet powered drones coming from the Russians. Now for Max 25, one of the promising areas for increasing the capabilities of AFU in evacuating wounded servicemen is the use of robotic systems. Central Department of Innovation organized a transfer of a prototype of ground robotic complex to 20th Separate Regiment of Unmanned Systems. So check this thing out. Imagine this thing picking you up on the battlefield whenever you get injured. This is an unmanned system that is like a ground UAV drone that can pick up wounded soldiers. So that is very cool to see that. Just imagine having an piece of equipment like this picking you up versus like a Bradley, which is probably normally what Ukraine has been using before they started to produce certain UAVs like this. So Ukraine is just getting more and more innovative every day. It's really awesome to see that. Now for Visioner, big news. Putin does not believe in Trump's ultimatum, which expires on Friday, and has no intention of following it, according to Reuters, citing sources closest to the Kremlin. The Russian president has been informed that the Ukrainian front will collapse within 2 to 3 months. He is confident in Russia's victory and doubts that the new U.S. sanctions will be effective. The Russian General Staff, reportedly told Putin that the Ukrainian front would collapse within 2 or 3 months, which is why Putin plans to fully capture the Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia regions of Ukraine, then possibly move to negotiations. Kremlin does not believe that Trump will follow through on his ultimatum at all, saying that he has threatened before but later took no action or changed his decision. So this explains why we're not really seeing Vladimir Putin being worried about these tariffs or sanction threats from U.S. President Donald Trump. But apparently he believes that within a few months the front line is going to collapse. Do you guys think that's a possibility? I mean, I guess anything is really possible coming out from this war, depending on what happens. But that's what Putin believes, that within 2 to 3 months, the front line will collapse. That will allow them to take over all these territories they've been fighting for, which is Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia regions of Ukraine. Maybe after that, call for negotiations to try to put an end to this war. Who really knows? But we know at the end of the day that Russia does have ambitions to completely take over the entirety of Ukraine, and we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. But so far, they have been moving very slow on the front line. So very interesting story today. Now for Vicegrad 24, Russia's oil and gas revenues plunged nearly 30% for the third consecutive month. In July, Russia's budget saw a 28% year-on-year drop in oil and gas revenues, according to the finance ministry. This marks the third straight month of nearly 30% declines over the first 7 months of 2025. Total oil and gas income has fallen by 19%. Gas revenues were hit hardest, collapsing by more than half. This comes as Gazprom's exports to Europe hit their lowest level since the early 1970s. In July alone, gas-related income dropped 53% compared to the previous year. So that's pretty crazy, guys. I mean, Russia's getting hit hard with their oil sector, and then on top of that, Ukraine's been smashing so many of their oil refineries. I'm sure that's going to hurt them even more. And I do have some reports on some of the refineries that have been attacked from over the weekend today. But yeah, yet again, another report of Russia's oil industry completely collapsing. And it's just crazy they continue to fight this war, even though on the back end they're taking devastating losses with their economy. Now for Vicegrad 24, Germany has deployed 5 Eurofighter jets and 150 troops to Poland amid Russian military exercises in Belarus. The jets arrived at the Minsk Mazowiecki, if I'm saying that right, might be butchering that, sorry guys, airbase. They will patrol the airspace and monitor Russian activity on the eastern flank of the alliance. So this is a big move today, and this is due to the military exercises that are ongoing in Belarus with Russian forces and Belarusian forces right now. They're afraid that at some point Russia could be preparing for an attack on the Baltic nations. So Germany has deployed some Eurofighter jets over to Poland and 150 troops to back up the eastern front line, just in case anything were to go down, and also to uh, show some deterrence towards the Russians as well, so they don't try to attack any NATO members like the Baltic nations, for example. Now, for next, Ukrainian drone strikes disable two major oil refineries in Russia, Reuters reports. According to the agency, after the Ukrainian drone attack on the night of August 2nd, Rostov's oil refinery in Novokuybishevsk, Samara region, ceased operations while the refinery in Ryazan halved its production capacity. That's huge, guys. We reported both of these on Saturday. Here's the report. Russia's Ryazan oil refinery halves refining capacity after drone attacks, sources say. Yeah, this was actually starting to break yesterday, that the Novokuybishevsk oil refinery in the Samara region of Russia, which we showed you guys video footage, one of the most massive explosions we've ever seen from a Ukrainian drone striking any kind of refinery or oil depot. Apparently that is shut down completely, and also the Ryazan oil refinery that was attacked the same day has halved its production due to the drone attacks on that oil refinery as well. So that is huge, guys. Two major oil refineries knocked out by 50% or more. Now for next, Iranian scientists secretly visited nuclear facilities in Russia. Why? In August 2024, an Iranian delegation visited Russian scientific organizations working with dual-use nuclear technologies, with the delegation, including scientist Ali Kalvanda, visited companies Techno Expert and Thorium, affiliated with Rostec. These entities specialize in dual-use technologies that have civilian applications but can be used in the development of nuclear weapons. Iran planned to acquire isotopes such as tritium used in nuclear weapons development. They also explored X-ray tubes for nuclear testing. Russia may have agreed to a technical exchange with Tehran as part of a partnership following the start of the war in Ukraine. Now, here's a report from the Financial Times. It says, Financial Times investigation, the covert trip by Iranian nuclear experts to Russia. All right, so allegedly we had some Iranian scientists that made a secret visit to Russia's nuclear facilities, and makes you wonder if Russia was trying to help out the Iranians. I mean, they have been supplying weaponry to each other. We've been seeing that back and forth. The Iranians do supply Shahed drones over to Russia. Russia sends air defense equipment over to the Iranians as well. So militarily, they are helping each other out. But allegedly, according to this report today, the Financial Times is stating that Iranian scientists were visiting some nuclear facilities in Russia, possibly trying to gain some secrets and information to produce their own nuclear weapons, which is what we just saw about a month or so ago, 2 months ago, when the U.S. struck their nuclear facilities to destroy them. And we could possibly see another attack in the future, as well, as the Iranians are stating that they still want to try to achieve obtaining, enriched uranium and whatnot to possibly produce a nuclear weapon. Now from next, the Netherlands to provide Ukraine with a 500 million euro military aid package. This was announced by the country's Minister of Defense, Ruben Brekelmans. The support package includes ammunition and components for Patriot and Hawk air defense systems for the front lines. Artillery shells are also included. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that the Netherlands has become the first NATO country to purchase U.S.-made weapons for Ukraine. So this was huge, guys. This came out yesterday. Netherlands supplying $500 million in military aid. They're going to be buying this directly from the United States and directly sending it over to Ukraine. And as it states here, President Zelensky said that this was the first time that any NATO country has purchased U.S. weapons directly for Ukraine. And that's what Trump is trying to set up right now. They're allowing NATO nations in Europe to directly purchase U.S. weapons, send them over to Ukraine. Looks like that is beginning now. And look at this now from Military News UA. Rutte called on NATO countries to follow the example of the Netherlands and buy weapons from the U.S. for Ukraine as soon as possible. And he says, quote, I thank the Netherlands for taking the initiative and turning it into concrete support on the ground, building on the steps taken last week by Germany to deliver more Patriot systems to Ukraine, he said. So calling on NATO countries, we have Mark Rutte here, who is the Secretary General of NATO, and saying, hey, we need more countries to step up, just like Netherlands, and start purchasing weapons directly from the U.S., sending them over to Ukraine immediately. And we do have some reports on that today. Here's this from Vicegrad24. Denmark, together with Sweden and Norway, will finance the purchase of U.S. weapons for Ukraine, country's defense minister has said. The ministry said that the aid package will include missiles for Patriot air defense systems. The first contribution will amount to 580 million Danish kroner, about $89 million. Overall, the countries will allocate about 500 million for this arms package. So apparently there's more countries getting involved with this aid package. It's going to be also Sweden and Norway and Denmark together, not just Norway, that will be financing aid packages for Ukraine directly coming from the United States. So that is very big. We're really starting to see that. Lots of NATO members within Europe really starting to step up big, supplying weapons over to Ukraine, and now starting to come from the U.S. All right, now check this out for military news UA. EU prepares sanctions against China for helping Russia in the war, according to Politico today. This is huge also. All right, so the EU is getting ready to slam China with some major sanctions very soon. And we've been hearing lots of reports recently that China is directly supplying military equipment over to the Russians to aid them in this fight against Ukraine. And the U.S. and European partners are not happy about that. So China's going to get hit with some sanctions soon from the EU, possibly even from the U.S. They could get hit with tariffs for purchasing Russian oil also. The U.S. has also been warning China on their supplying for the Russians also in this fight against Ukraine. And I think we're going to be seeing some major action against India as well. And I do have numerous reports on the Indian nation today as well. So now from next, U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, announces new sanctions against Russia and its oil buyers. United States plans to impose new sanctions on Russia and countries purchasing its oil. Sanctions will target key oil importers from Russia, China, India, and Brazil. These measures are seen as the next step toward ending the war in Ukraine. So this is Matthew Whitaker right here, the U.S. ambassador to NATO, and he came out stating this today, that all these nations, including China, India, and Brazil, they're all going to get hit with some massive sanctions or tariffs here very soon by the end of the week. And this is because they are purchasing Russian oil, which directly fuels Russia's military at the end of the day, that helps them fight inside of Ukraine. So the U.S. is really trying to end this war. And this was a statement coming out from Matthew Whitaker. So it looks very serious. By the end of the week, the U.S. is going to come out with these sanctions and or tariffs onto Russia's trading partners. Now from next, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi makes provocative statement amid Trump's demands not to buy Russian oil. Modi emphasized the necessity of protecting India's economic interests in the face of global uncertainty, Bloomberg reports. According to the agency, Modi highlighted the importance of safeguarding India's economic interests amidst the uncertain global situation. Bloomberg sources stated that Modi's government has not instructed Indian oil refineries to halt Russian oil purchases, and a decision on suspending imports has not yet been made. Here's the report today on Bloomberg. Modi defiant as Trump steps up pressure on India's Russian oil purchases. So even their Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, in India coming out and saying they're not going to stop the purchases of Russian oil at all. They're not afraid to stand up against the United States. I think they're going to get hit by these tariffs or sanctions coming this week. And they might be regretting that, as I do have some reports on India's economy today in terms of trade with the U.S. I think it's going to be hurting them very bad. Look at this report from Evgen Istrebin. The U.S. is the largest buyer of Indian goods with a share of 18%. Nobody in the world will buy this volume of goods. India is not in a position to dictate terms. Today, the Indian currency fell to a new record. Yeah, it fell to a new low today amid these tariff threats. And on top of that, the U.S. is the largest buyer of Indian goods with a share of 18%. So who's going to replace those share of goods if they can no longer sell to the United States because they get hit by tariff percentages of, let's say, 100% or more? And I think we're going to be seeing that here very soon, as I do have more reports on tariffs getting slammed down onto India very soon. Look at this from Max 25. Trump: if energy prices go down, Putin will stop killing people. India is the highest tariff nation. I will raise tariffs on India soon over the Russian oil. Trump says he will raise tariffs on India substantially over the next 24 hours. Okay, this was just coming out today. You can see the date here, August 5th. So very soon, within 24 hours, India is going to get some massive tariffs placed onto them, and it's going to hurt their economy big time. And will it force them to stop purchasing Russian oil? We'll have to see what's going to happen, but it looks like India will get hit first with these tariffs before anybody else, because I haven't seen any reports on China or Brazil just yet. So let's see what happens with that. But India is definitely going to take a huge hit, and that's also why their currency is falling today due to this kind of news. Now, from next to Iranian-made components found in Russian Iranian Shahed 136 drones, according to Hindustan Times. Ukraine has sent diplomatic notes to India's Ministry of External Affairs and raised the issue in July during a visit to New Delhi by the EU Special Envoy for Sanctions, David O'Sullivan. Ukrainian President Office Head Andriy Yermak confirmed the information, stating that Indian components are indeed found in Russian attack drones, and added that these drones are being used on the front lines and against civilian targets. Wow, that's big news, guys. We've been hearing so much about China supplying drone parts for the Russians, now the Indians as well. Indian-made components found in Russian Iranian Shahed 136 drones. These are the same type of drones that are killing innocent civilians in Ukraine repeatedly. This is crazy, guys. I think India and China, for sure, they're going to get hit very hard this week by sanctions and also tariffs, most likely. We'll see which ones get picked there. But either way, it's going to do some major economic damage. And at the end of the day, we know Trump is going to be doing this to really try to force an end to this war. So we're going to have to see what happens here. But this is a very big bombshell report today that not only is China supplying drone parts to the Russians, but the Indians are as well. And that was according to Ukraine's today, as also Andriy Yermak, the head of the presidential office. Now, for Vicegrad 24, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will attempt to persuade Putin for a ceasefire. Donald Trump will send Steve Witkoff to Moscow on August 6th or 7th for talks. Witkoff will make a final attempt to convince Putin to agree to a Ukraine ceasefire, or Russia will face new sanctions. All right, so we're going to be having Steve Witkoff showing up either tomorrow or Thursday in Moscow for direct talks with Vladimir Putin. This is a special envoy out of the Middle East that U.S. President Donald Trump tasked with communicating directly with the Russians to try to end this war. And it looks like they'll be giving the final ultimatum to Vladimir Putin today to let him know, end this war. If not, you're going to be getting hit with these sanctions, and your trading partners will be hit with tariffs as well. So it looks like that'll be coming early this week by the end of Friday. As we know, Friday is the deadline for Trump's ultimatum on Vladimir Putin. Now, for Visioner, according to Turkish media, Recep Tayyip Erdogan will make an official visit to Ukraine in the coming days. I thought this was interesting also. It looks like we're going to be having the Turkish president heading over to Ukraine also, and I wonder why that might be, what he might be announcing while he's there. But this was a new report just breaking today on X that allegedly he will be arriving in Kiev to most likely meet with Volodymyr Zelensky. Let me know what you think on why he might be heading over there. Now, from NOAA reports, overnight on August 5th, Ukrainian air defense shot down or suppressed 29 out of 46 Russian Shahed drones and decoys launched from several directions, as well as repelling an Iskander-M ballistic missile from Bryansk. Drone hits were recorded in the east, along with missile and debris impacts at several locations. So yeah, take a look at that. It's only 47 total munitions fired into Ukraine overnight, 46 of those being Shahed drones, and there was one missile fired from the Bryansk region. So yeah, not a whole lot being damaged inside of Ukraine overnight, but we did have that massive attack on that train station in the Kharkiv region just today. So yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, not too many drones going into Ukraine throughout the majority of this week so far. So that's indicating that the Russians are stockpiling a lot of drones to launch another massive attack. And I was hearing as high as like 50 missiles, if not more, could be fired tonight. So we'll see what happens if Ukraine gets attacked by a large barrage of missiles and drones tonight. But it looks like it's coming very soon, and I think the Russians will launch one more large attack before we start to see these tariffs and sanctions come down onto the Russian economy and their trading partners. Now, from Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of August 5th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of August 5th, 1,120 troops, 12 AFVs, 93 vehicles and fuel tanks, 2 tanks, 28 artillery systems, 169 UAVs, and 2 cruise missiles. Okay, so a little bit more being destroyed here than normal that we have been seeing, but not a super major increase, but 1,120 troops, up a little bit higher. We've been seeing more around the 900 mark, so a little bit more troop losses on the Russian side overnight. AFV's up quite a bit. We've usually been seeing like 3 or less on average. We got up to 12 here. Tank numbers have been very low. We've been seeing a lot of zeros and ones recently. Looks like 2 overnight. And then vehicles and fuel tanks about average right below 100 we've been seeing recently. Artillery systems about average 220 to 30 we see on a daily or nightly basis there. So nothing too crazy in terms of Russian losses, but there are a few fluctuations there and increases, but for the most part, about average numbers. So I want to thank you guys very much for being here for today's update on August 5th, 2025, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day today. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section, but that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.